Okay. So what was I doing? I was using rainbow stones to find the secret path. Midget, kill him. Kill the midget. You're 5'11". Die. Go to the part where it's not over there. Oh no, it is. Runes are here. Oh fuck. Okay, so this works. That works. Ooh. Not that way. Works. This game is pissing me off. Where am I supposed to fucking go? I need to make more. Make fucking 10,000 million. I'm just glad no one's watching anymore. Is that an item over there that I missed? Oh my god, it is. Oh my god! What the fuck? Oh, god, there's a bunch of fucking midgets. Oh my god! They jumped me. Oh no, I hope that's not gonna be a boss. Yeah, I found it, the consecrated snowfield. Gimme! How am I supposed to fucking see anything? I don't get it. Oh god. Is it Yeti? Ouch. Sims, look at me. Oh no! Go away! Dog's pretty cute. Fuckhead! Shot in my face. Chubby cow. Hi. Now where did that car go? Oh. I just want the chest. I'm not bothered. Oh my god, can I see if I use this? Oh, holy fuck. Okay. This is a huge area. Light? Yeah, I know, but it looked like something suspicious was gonna happen. What the fuck? Oh, what the fuck? What? Yeah! Yeah, they do. Like, I've killed so many of those before. I just want the thingy in the thing. Like, what are those stupid lightning bolts? And why are they doing so much? Pow. Ass. Mother. Oh, shit. Oh. Fuck you! No! No! I hate her. Please die. Shit. She's in it. She's in it. Fucking get. Alroa. 0909. Long time not seen. Yeah, you're right. It was a long time since I've seen your username. How are you doing? I'm actually just getting you know what? I don't have to get destroyed by them if I just do this. I don't have to play the game the way that it's intended to. I don't have to. Wait, what the fuck? Where's the... Wait, maybe I'll get the map first and then I'll go back for my ruins. You tried to join before, but you're live on the most random times. Yeah, you're right. I don't have a schedule. I mean, I'm planning to make one, because I know that I should have one. But, yeah. Yeah, I just go live whenever, to be honest. You're right. Oh my god! Stop getting angry. Don't get angry at the video game. I'm gonna fucking get angry at the video game. I'm already angry at the video game. Fuck you. Stupid. I'm not dead. I didn't die because I'm not dead. The horse is fucking dead though. Why did that guy moan in my ear? That was weird. Stamp your feet at me and stuff. Open. Ow! Fuck off! Wait, who the fuck did you say they are? You're literally just normal fucking Homegalol enemies. Like, why'd you do that much damage? I don't know how much these guys do. Oh! $7.8K. 'Kay. 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 'Kay Yeah. I'm wearing too much armor for this sword. Crazy amount of runes for guys who literally just stand still and let you fucking kill them. Also, I just got this. It's similar to mine, but it also scales with dex, so I guess it's just not that good. But then it has like critical attack. Even though you're not the best and die a lot, I'm impressed you didn't give up yet. Keep going, my friend gave up after 3 hours. Thanks, dudes. A giant fucking... What the fuck is that? She was about to give up at Draconic. No, not that. I was about to give up on Margit. Like, I genuinely didn't think I'd be able to beat him. And then I just stopped being drunk when I played the game, and it helped a lot. What the hell? Why is he killing the rats? Fuck, dude. Why are they all so big? Ah! They've got the friendly flame. I have no idea where I'm going. Ah! Shut up. You could have saved Melina. How? How? Like, actually how? I don't get it. She was like, this is the job given to me by my mother. And then she just sets herself on fire. Like, okay. What am I supposed to say to that? She seemed like she'd kind of made up her mind. Friendly flame. But she tried to... Wait, so I would have been able to fight her! Oh my god, I wanted... You fucking... Spoiler! I should have done it! I wanted to fight her. I knew she would turn evil and try to kill me. Wait, what if I go get it now? Or can I not get it anymore? Wow. Like, why is a random guy with schizophrenia who's homeless giving me 1,000 runes? But what is the progression of this part of the game? What the fuck? Just feels like way too many fucking runes. Oh, fuck my life. I just got invaded, didn't I? Who is it? Show yourself. Sigma Noble. Sanguine Noble. She just says she will kill you. Where's the fucking person who's like invading me? I literally have no- oh fuck. There they are. Fuck, I've got a bear and a guy chasing me! No! No! Oh my god, what the fuck? You can't team up like this! Actually stupid as fuck. that guy acting like he had anything to do with it. But I wasn't trying to aggro the bear, I was trying to look for the guy who just like fucking came to get me. Oh my fucking god, now I didn't get a grace. I'm gonna have to go all the way here. My name is here when I'm playing Elden Ring. Probably. Aaron. Yeah, so this guy's gonna summon, like he's gonna come. Is that idiot? That giant still aggroed on me. Where's the fucking red dude? Like... Did he have to go to the airport and then come back or something? Like... Oh shit. Oh, this is not... It's gonna be hard, isn't it? I'm locked on! What did I miss? Ugh. I bet he has bleed. Like, that looks like a bleed weapon. Fuck. Yeah, get fucked. I see you use Lion's Claw. Last time I was here, I gave you advice. Yeah, you were telling me I needed to use summons while I was getting angry at a boss. So yeah, I did flame you. You told me I would never be able to defeat that boss without summons, so yeah, I got angry at you. What are you talking about? Why is his armor shit? Like it should be right at the top. Or is it? Am I blind? Oh, it's like light armor. That looks so fucking cool. Can you fuck off? Like, why is there a bug in my face? Go away. Like, no one cares about you. Like, why does the bug even exist? It's just pointless. Also, my character is evil. I made her to look like an Agartha edit. And now she has red eyes. So I know that her eyes have definitely changed. It wasn't me. You have D armor. How is this D? This is great. This is tough. That's pretty tough. This is tough. Yeah, that's sick. And look how fat her ass is in this dress as well. The Godskin one makes you fat. Yeah, like, why isn't there one that gives me giant tits? That's what I want to know. It's too late for me to install the fucking mod that makes my character be able to have a giant, you know, assets. But I kind of regret not doing that now. I like this more. Does the mod make them jiggle? Kinda does, I think. I mean, really shit. Yeah, I didn't mean it. Bye. Sorry. Where do I go, actually? Oh. Fine. We all strive for what we don't have, and if you knew me at all, you knew that that what you just said would be a gigantic fucking lie. You know how there's sports bras? I want a gaming bra. Like, genuinely, I want a gaming bra. The right shoulder strap doesn't put any strain on the right shoulder at all. It's just there to like hold it in place, like something like that. Because if you wear a bra and you're trying to play FPS, it fucking hurts your shoulders. You want RGB? Yes! That would be fucking sick. Can you imagine? Oh my god, my FPS! Oh! How are they not dead? Oh my god, it's the turtle house. Why is he doing that? You Iron Bro, you don't need this shit. Well, I would have needed it in the past. God, my FPS, that was dreadful. There's a giant woman here. She's sleeping. POV Middle East, yeah, everywhere adjacent to Iran right now. Okay, what do I do? Why is it doing that? Hello? How can't I jump on her lap? That fucking sucks. Her feet are gigantic. They're like bigger than her head. That's crazy. She is deaf, maybe. Yeah, maybe she is deaf. Perhaps. What was I saying? Yeah, gamer bra. If I was rich, I would do that. I would make a company that sells gaming bras. That would be sick. How come these guys don't die to the missiles? I have no idea where I'm going. Is there gonna be an Earth Tree avatar here? Like, what's this tree? The Frick Tree avatar. Oh, Scarlet Rot. What? No, he just fucking... Oh, no, this Russia. No. No. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone, please. No, I didn't beat it. No. He's stuck. He's stuck. going to play something myself. Maybe join in later or another time. Have fun. Okay, thanks. Bye. Oh, he saw me! Defeated the giant, but you can't fight the bear. He's fucking scary! He plucked me out of the sky like I was a mosquito! I was on my horse and he like did fucking... He did one of DK's fucking Smash Bros moves on me where he claps his hands. Got me out the fucking air, knocked me off my horse. Like, where the fuck am I going? This place is gigantic, and for what? There's like nothing here. Apart from the Iranian government. Oh! Way too loud. Hey, pick that up. Nice. A little town. There is a Grace. Yeah, I'm guessing there is a Grace here. Hey, talk to me! Or is this a fucking player? That's not a player. Why would a player just be LARPing here? Find the Grace. Oh, it's right fucking there. Okay. See? I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then ever go in his castle. That's nice. But it's in this area, so it's gonna be AIDS. No. Why don't they talk to me? These are ghosts. I want a pet wolf so bad. I know that you can't have wolves as a pet, but they're so cute. Oh, for fuck's sake. It's a puzzle. Ugh. No. This is invisible area. But look. Nah, fuck that. I'm not doing this. If there's invisible people, I'm not doing anything. Light the lights. What fucking lights? There isn't any. What the fuck? That actually scared the shit out of me. That actually scared me. That actually fucking scared me. What the fuck? What? That's not okay. You can't fucking do that. You can't put that in the game. I love how you get told to do something and so I just know that doesn't exist. Shut up. Just run. He fucking jump scared me. I didn't know I was playing Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, what the fuck was that? Oh my god. My heart's beating so hard. That actually scared me. That was really scary. I didn't think I'd get jump scared in Elden Ring. Holy shit! Oh, he's just sleeping. Oh no, he's dead. Oh, so cool. Well, it sucks. Oh! So there's lights somewhere, right? I'm guessing I won't see them unless I do the thingy. Fucking hate puzzles. Why do they have to be invisible? I'm lost. Shut up! I'm talking about the guides when you do the thing. When you turn it to nighttime, they become invisible. Just go back to the Grace. Tish about to scare you. Well, I literally got jump scared. I literally got jump scared by a black shadow like guy in a bandit costume, and he stabbed me in the heart. 26 times and kills me immediately. I don't see it, and he was invisible before he did that. I don't see how that's fair. Personally. Fuck. That's the thingy. You being racist. I'm not being racist. You could clip it out of context to make me sound racist, but you wouldn't do that because you love me, right? Invisible? I'm gonna use my stupid sword. How is that still wait, why is everything silent? That's creepy. Oh, I don't like that. Why are you wearing her clothes? What do you mean she is coming? There's no wait, so she just chases me the whole time. You're telling me Elden Ring is the horror game? No way. This person's shiny. Don't give a fuck about that. There's no way she's coming for me. Like, why would she? She lives underneath the bridge. And she's dead in real life. Literally a homeless fucking crackhead, no one cares. Okay, so this is a light. No, that's not funny! Like, why did it actually make me scream again? What is wrong with me? Like, you're so fucking cringe. Shut up. Oh my god. What? Like, that's how I scream when I see a fucking giant spider. What the fuck is wrong with me? Oh my god, Elden Ring is a horror game. Fuck off! Why is she invisible? Stupid. Let me light the thingy, please. Oh, stop! Stop, please. Stop, I fucking hate you. She's just height mogging me and knife mogging me and stab mogging me. That's not a light, but why is it suspiciously triangle shaped then if it's not something important? Oh, I can see her footsteps! Haha, I figured out the fucking puzzle! Oh shit. I may not figure it out. She's invisible again. Fuck! No! No! Mm-hmm. Look for ladders. Well, you know I'm not very good at doing that. I kind of want to make carrot cake. I did make a cooking video. I edited it today. I need to finish it though. I filmed everything in vertical on my phone, so it just looks like shit. Like, I may as well just release it as a short, but I didn't make it as a short, so it's not. And, like, it's just terrible. So, and they only made one thing, so maybe if they made another thing, it would be better, but I'm really shit at baking, so. Jump scare, for fuck's sake. Like, why would they make— Really, again! Ugh. I would have screamed again if I wasn't busy being fucking angry. Oh, backstab. Oh, you're such a newbie, you got backstab. Yeah, well, she's fucking invisible, so shut up. She is literally invisible. It's not a skill issue. She is evil. Because it's funny. So I'm not laughing. Are you? I don't answer that. Anyway. I made a video. Cooking video. And then I realized, shit. This is like the worst tutorial ever. No one's gonna know how to fucking make this. Because I didn't look at a recipe. I just I looked at it the first time I made that. But then I started changing it slightly every time I made it again. So now the way I make it, I can't even find a recipe video to like show what's actually supposed to happen. And I can't fucking film it because you can't film yourself while you're cooking. I tried to hold my phone in my mouth and film like that, but then it just filmed the ceiling. You couldn't see anything. So that didn't work. So, like, maybe I use rainbow stones. Maybe she will, like, pick them up. Like, she's shooting me now! What the fuck is her problem? Oh my god. Is this a boss? Like, is this an actual boss? Oh, look who joined the chat. Mr. I fucking killed Mog in one attempt. Oh, you fucking bitch whore. Okay, send me porn of her right now. I'll put it on the fucking screen. She needs to be demoralized. Oh, never mind. All I had to do was push her up against the fucking wall. There's only one of her, right? If there's multiple, I'm literally... If there's multiple, I'm not fucking playing the game. I'm gonna rage quit. There's multiple... She's not a boss? How is she not a fucking boss? I don't even know what I'm supposed to... Oh! Oh! Bitch! Oh! I'm quitting the game. Like, that's just not fair. Okay, I'm summoning. No, I'm gonna summon. My jellyfish can see her, right? They look like they leave footsteps. Yeah, I know they do, but I'm not looking at the floor. No, at least they stay fucking dead. My god, look. Migration. How whimsical. This is for you. Oh! Oh no! This is not whimsical! No! 60k fucking wounds! I'm gonna lose them! Oh! I can't even fucking genocide a species in peace. Oh my god! I'm sorry, I didn't fucking mean it. I didn't think they had death light. They're not trolls. They're the fucking midget freak, babies, you know? The midget babies. I don't like them. I don't like the way they look at you right before they get aggroed, and I don't like the sounds they make. They're very creepy. It's like Uncanny Valley or something. Albinuric racist. Yeah, I am. Because they look like babies, but they're fucking freaky. And some babies are really fucking ugly anyway. Not me though, I was a really pretty baby. But some babies are fucking ugly. Clip it. Yeah, sure, whatever. Clip it. I don't like the midget freaks in Elden Ring. Oh no! I think they're stupid and dumb. And they should go back to Liurnia, where they came from. We need to build a wall. I'm lost. I'm fucking lost, by the way. I don't know where I'm fucking going. £7 baby. I was 5 pounds. I had to go in ICU, as far as I know. I had jaundice. I was very ill. Actually, the jaundice might have been later. I'm not sure, but I was just a little bit premature, so I was quite light. It's been probably the only time I've been underweight in my entire life, apart from when I first got put on Ritalin and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out, and then I didn't eat, and I had 999 hours on my save file. It was a crazy time. Did I just take damage? Did I just see my... Clip that. Clip that. I just saw my fucking red health go down. I just fucking saw it. I'm not joking. I just saw that. This could be proof that I'm actually delusional and losing my fucking mind, because I just saw it happen. What the fuck? Why'd you have a new profile pic, a new banners, a new description, a new nickname? Who are you? Where did you take the streamer I knew? It was nothing to do with the mushrooms. That's all I can say. Okay, so if she walks past here, she's gonna die. Because I'm gonna know she's coming. And she won't know it's me. Do you think? Also, you did not take damage. Oh, okay. I don't want her to kill me! There were no mushrooms. There was no mushrooms. There are no mushrooms. There was nothing to do with the mushrooms. If there were any, it wouldn't be their fault. Okay, what do the lights look like? Can you draw it in MS Paint or something? Don't call me little bro! But I guess if you called me little sis, that would be weirder. Look, I haven't been attacked yet. Because she doesn't know I'm here. She thinks I'm just a deer. You know? It's where the ghost was sitting. There. Oh dear. Lil shroom. Yeah, no, I don't have mushrooms growing in my brain. God, no! I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Oh, this bitch. Oh my god, this fucking bitch. This is actually how tall women act in real life. Like they just actually think they're invincible. Because they know. Because they know that they can hold things above your head. And you can't fucking reach them. You might see tall goth mommy. I see evil fucking giant. It's just my original OC donut steal, you know. Actually, Matador stopped. Yeah, and she's Latina. I don't stand a fucking chance of being mogged in every way. Oh. Do you ever just wish you could draw really well so that you could draw things that make you angry? Like you get pissed off at someone and you just wish you could draw fan art of them being a fucking idiot. Well, it wouldn't be fan art, it would just be art, you know? I'm actually getting really mad. Well, you wouldn't have been able to tell if I hadn't said anything. My brain ain't braining these mushroom changes. What the fuck? You don't like my... You don't like my design? That cost a lot, by the way. And it took a lot of time. Tell me the lore. She's a fun gal. I'll tell you in Discord. But if you look closer at the banner art, you can tell there is some lore. There's a little bit, you know. And then a few streams ago, she's coming. She's fucking coming for me. There was a... Come here. She just grabbed... What the fuck? She sits on my face! I shouldn't have said that. I just screamed that. My neighbors fucking heard me say that. Oh, you just killed me. I just killed me right now. Oh my. The dragon. I have never had magic mushrooms in my entire life, nor do I have a fungal infection affecting my brain. There are no mushrooms. Just get the light. Yeah, what fucking lights? Hmm? That looks exactly like my sister. Like, exactly like my sister. That is so weird. What the fuck? That's a guy. Well, it's a very pretty guy. That looks exactly like my little sister. Well, she's not little. It feels weird calling a woman my little sister. I know there's a femboy in the game. That's what Mog is like. That's why Mog is doing all that. Because he's just trying to get like a crumb of femboy pussy and he can't. So he put him in a cocoon or something. That's what I figured out so far. But I wouldn't know that if I hadn't been spoiled on like what Michaela looks like. What? This is my fan theory. Don't fucking shame me. I'm not a freak. I'm not a freak. The game is a freak. Wait, is there 2 sets of footprints? No, there isn't. I'm fine. The game is freaky, not me. I'm completely fucking normal. I'm using facts and logic to try and deduce what the fucking story is about. Average tall goth mom. I'm gonna kill myself. Tall and Latina? That's an oxymoron, by the way. The lore is literally worse. Wait, for real. Game Freak? Pokemid? How far behind are you? We talked about Pokemon like 15 minutes ago. Nah, I'm leaving. Why would you leave me? Just DM me on Discord. I'll show you I'll show you my art. I'll show you my terrible art. You should game and then freak. Fair enough. All I do is hear people complain about the new Pokemon games they make. And then the same people who complain, they always buy it and then play it. I don't get it. Like, I don't like Pokemon games ever since fucking Sun and Moon, so I stopped buying them. Everyone else still fucking buys them and they still complain. Yeah, I'm not buying a Switch 2. I am not buying one. And I am like a diehard Splatoon fan. And I love Pikmin too. Like, I love Pikmin. And I would really like to play that Tomodachi Life game, because like I'd love to have fucking Bill Clinton and like Charlie Kirk living in one apartment together. But I'm just not buying a fucking Switch 2. It's just not worth it. Like it's not even good hardware. When you got Violet because it had something unique with the what's it called co-op raid. My sister has bought every single Pokemon game like since Sun and Moon in both versions. Like she got both of the versions. Fuck it, just emulate. Yeah, for real. But you can't. I mean, I wouldn't mind like emulating Sword and Shield, because I know there's like a ROM hack for that. I just don't want to fucking like. Okay, where the fuck are the rest of the lights? Like, I'm not joking. Like, someone just tell me. It's not funny anymore. Look for a ladder. Oh yeah, let me look for a ladder. There's like 10 million walls. Oh! Oh! She's coming! Did you hear that? I heard that. Ladder, 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 ladder. Liberal, 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 liberal. I can't even fucking send you a fucking message on fucking Discord. Whoa! Dude, yeah, you can't on my main account. Flimsy Pop inspurted that sentence right there. I have a phenomenal chat right now. Inspurred. I don't know why. I don't know why you're. Yeah, do that. Yeah, do that. I'll show you. I'll show you later. Okay, I promise. I'll show you. I forgot to look for a ladder. Oops. Wait, look here. At least I killed all of them. Oh. Spoke too fucking soon. There's a sniper on the roof. I'm gonna get kirked. No! Fucking the fucking message fucking has fucking been fucking sent. What the fuck? I need to find a ladder. Holy did she sponsor you? There's no ladder! What the fuck was that? Oh, this is horrible noise. I need a sponsor. I should be sponsored for playing games really badly. And then I could raise so much money for charity because I'm really, really bad at games. Oh, there's a ladder! Look, I found it. I'm actually a fucking genius gamer. But how do I get up there? Shit, gamer. Ladder up there, but I don't... Ugh. It's parkour. I have to do parkour. No. Oh, I fucking hate parkour. Squiddo custom G Fuel flavor. What would that even be? Maybe MDMA. Not because I like it, but because it would be really funny to just sell laced G Fuel, I think. It wouldn't be funny at all. That'd be very illegal and evil. But if someone else did it, I would find it funny and I'd laugh. Dude, fucking pickle flavored creatine. I could sell that. It's just like pickle particles. No, not pickle particles. Like pickle powder. Like pickle powder. And creatine mixed together. Guacamole Fart 4000. Is that your alt account username? That's fucking sick, dude. If Guacamole Fart 4000 doesn't follow me on Twitch in the next 5 minutes, I will cry. Live. I'll cry. Ugh. At least they don't come back to life though, do they? So I'll be fine. I'm not gonna get fucking hunted down. It's pissing me off. What? I died on the floor and my fucking runes are on top of the fucking... Also, when she died, it sounded like a girl, right? But it might be me dying. But I think that is a femboy with bow and arrow. So it's basically that guy from Bleach. I don't remember his name because I don't remember anyone's name in anything I read ever. The last Quincy. Except he's not, because then there's a whole arc where there's like fucking loads of them later. And then they all become Nazis, and I didn't read that part. I can't get up! Guacamole Fart 4000 is a G Fuel or Gamer subs. Like, wait, really? And it tastes like farts? That's disgusting. Just light the lights. I've got to get my fucking runes back, chud. Just light the light. You just put the fries in the bag. Leave me alone. You know I'm slow. I didn't say anything for streamer to say. I'm sorry. Leave me alone. There's a ladder on the... Give me a second. I'm getting pelted by arrows. Oh my god. What does Guacamole Fart 4000 even taste like? I do want to know. There isn't a ladder, by the way. Get ready. But how the fuck do I get up? What? What happened? Dude! I don't know. Gold 14. Thanks for the gifted subs. What? Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really nice of you, dude. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gifted. Nice. Thanks a lot. Now, where is this ladder? I'm never gonna find it. I typed fuck you before the evil grin emoji, but the message failed to send. What's the evil grin emoji? This guy's sniping me! Oh, I've gotta run and jump. Also, you kind of like gifted a sub to like. No! Oh, who is he? Why is he spamming me? He gifted a sub to a DJ who like followed me back for zero reason, and I don't know why they followed me. It's kind of embarrassing. Pin question. Oh, Salamander, hi. First message. I'm not sure what it means. Wait, if I gift one sub right now, I get a reward. Fuck it, I'm gonna buy it. I want that reward. I wonder what it... The evil grin emoji. I don't know how to... Wait, how do I gift subs even? Can I gift subs in my own chat? You can. Yeah, I've done it before. It doesn't matter, I'll do it later. Wait, no, but the hype train only lasts for 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Shit. Also, I will send you the lore, okay? And I'll explain it later. No! Salamander, I didn't see it! I was doing something on my phone! Wait, I can pick an emote. How do I do that? So there's... Oh my god, there's so many. What should I do? They're all kinda... Okay, I want this one. Unlock now. By gifting one sub. Oh, I have to do it. What the fuck? It's $5? I hate you, Jeff Bezos. Hype train. I want the cat serve emote. It's like an emote of a cat and it's like walking down the runway. Who did I get a gift to? Let's see who got it. Oh, nice. I want the emote. I want the fucking emote. Let me unlock it. It's not letting me fucking unlock it. They promised me. Oh my god, they promised me I can unlock the emote and they didn't fucking let me. Yeah, that's the one I wanted. I wanted that one. They're lying to me. Twitch lied to me. I just sent Twitch money and I didn't even unlock anything. Like they said, you can unlock if you gift a sub. What do I do? Okay, so I should have hen low there. Well, now I just look like a fucking idiot as I don't have that. What? Sue them? The emote that was promised to them 5,000 years ago. Okay, calm down. It's not that deep. Oh, I need my runes. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Now I have 10 subscribers again. Isn't it fucked up that I don't get any money from that because I didn't fill in the tax return? I probably got like $2. So, if you don't it's not a good idea to do it. You're just giving money to Jeff Bezos, really. Wait, now I get to have the emote. It's doing a gacha right now. I just unlocked it. I just saw it. I got something. Hello. Give me my fucking emote! Should we tell- What did I do? It said to me that I could get an emote if I fucking gifted a sub. So I did. And now I don't get it. I don't understand. I have sent you the lore, by the way. I'll have to explain it later, I guess. Scam train living up to its name. No, really, like, Twitch just doesn't give money to the actual streamers unless... Like, I don't know how to do the tax interview, to be honest. So, I didn't do it. So basically they take like over half of the money. I think last time somebody gifted 20 subs, right? So they spent like $100, right? Did not ask them to. It's silly for them to do it because it's a waste of money, because I got like, I think I got $15 from that when they spent 100 because I didn't fill out the tax interview. So just, how much did the banner cost? Too much. Not too much, it was worth the money. It's the artist who did my old banner, and I know she's really good with like doing concepts like that, and she's funny, so she put her own spin on it. It's nice. It was something that was over $100. It's fine. Like I wanted it, so I don't think it's a waste of money. To support an artist in the age of AI, why not? You know. Oh, the hype train was a success, apparently. Oh my god, okay, I get a chest. Oh my god, I got a chest. I got loot. That's fucking shit. Look what I just got. Look what I just fucking got. That's fucking shit. What was this? Not a great person. Well, she's a great person. I'm just saying. Well, I'm not gonna fucking... It's embarrassing how much I spent on it, okay? Also, I kinda don't remember. It's like at least, it was like $140, okay? Or like $120. But it's worth it. And like, she's done art for like, when I bought my first banner from her, it was in 2020, and that cost like $40. You know? Like, what the fuck is this? You got that one, that's pretty good. What is this? I got this random ass fucking guy. Like, who is this? Who is this fucking pixel dude? That is not Pogger's champion. Oh my god. Twitch hates me. At least I got this last time. I really did get the worst emote. You didn't spend a cent on my Twitch. You have no money to spend. Well, I just wanted to start getting more serious about it, and potentially in the future maybe have an avatar, because I'm not gonna do webcam. And if you're not doing webcam, then you're just at a disadvantage. A friend of mine whom I edit for did a VTuber debut recently. And it kind of inspired me a little bit. I won't lie. You have this any fucking... Oh, you have no money to spend, but you have all of the fucking hype train emotes. What? Oh, I really wanted that cat one. The burnt squid. I'm not doing webcam. Am I at a disadvantage? I mean, yeah, I think everybody who isn't, like, everybody who isn't kind of is. People like to look at things on the screen, you know? That's why VTubers are so popular. Professional Twitch stream viewer. Not all of them. No, you have almost all of them. In what situation would you use the one where you turn the volume all the way up, though? Like when the streamer's like arguing with someone in the background? That would work. When streamer plays penis music. Okay. This area is shit. I do not want to be here anymore. I would rather fight Melania. I'm not joking. I would rather fight Melania. I've been here for an hour. Oh! Oh shit, did you get that one too? It sucks. Like, what is he even doing? He's like supposed to be dancing and he's like dodging bullets. And they got rid of Pot Friend. Can you imagine that? You stream on Twitch with a camera, but I don't do webcam. But I guess that's, you know, with a camera that's good, because then he can still see part of you. You need to unlock the puzzle for Melania. What? No. Why just put puzzles in every... Fuck this guy. Actually, fuck this guy. He's a cool guy that fight alien and doesn't afraid of anything. I'm not an alien. Okay, fuck you. Now who's shooting me? Oh my god. Where are my runes though, actually? Oh, I got them, my 80. Over here, webcam means streaming on platforms like bonga cams or bruh, that is not what I was talking about. I may have big bongas, but I wouldn't want to show them on Twitch. I think I would get banned. There's a light on the right. Is there? Whoa! I can't fucking focus because someone's spamming me. Guy got his first ever fucking bow and arrow and he's just using it. Fucking idiot. This is so annoying. Stop lying. I'm not lying. Oh, can heal while I... Oh. Jump! Jump! Okay. This guy is so fucking dead. The second I get over to... Oh, no. I was thinking about using a VTube model instead of my camera, but not. I feel like using a cam is more sincere and genuine. Well, if you're not a woman, you don't have to worry about things like makeup. However, if you are a woman and you use your webcam, every other woman on Twitch is pretty much wearing makeup. And if you do not know how to put makeup on, you are just at a disadvantage, unfortunately. So, yeah. And they're all really skinny as well. I'm not skinny, so I'm not gonna look as good on a webcam as, like, Pokemon. Unfortunately. My friend was talking about this as well. She said she would initially have wanted to do webcam streams, but it's like she would have had to do her makeup and get ready every time for it, and then she'd just rather just be a VTuber instead because she doesn't have to do that. Which makes complete sense to me, really. Also, it's not really that smart to have people know what you look like on the internet. The world fucking sucks. Yeah, you are like, why, what the fuck, why'd you need that? Because you don't even know what it looks like when a woman isn't wearing makeup. Sometimes men post online and they're like, oh, look at this, she's so natural. She's so natural, look at her. And it's like a woman who literally is wearing makeup and she has had plastic surgeries. Like, the men can't tell. And honestly, sometimes it is really hard to tell if the makeup's, like, very good and, like, natural. I am fucking shit at makeup. I have tried to learn. The best I can do is 15-year-old goth who just discovered eyeliner. Best I can do. Like, it can look okay in a picture, maybe. It is gonna look stupid in real life. It's gonna look terrible. You do know how they look. You don't, though. How am I back where I started? Ephium's just like, just light the lights. I don't watch you for your personality. I watch you for your Elden Ring gameplay. Shut the fuck up. Like, sorry. Okay, so it was over there, and my room's over there. Other imperfections? Yep. Can I see the acne? Dude, what? Okay, it's not acne. I don't have acne. Because I'm 20. Redacted. Too old for acne. It's more like you have discoloration in your face. Like, you have redness in the cheeks. So even people who don't wear makeup, they will usually use some kind of a filter or use lighting so that it doesn't look like they have, like, redness or, like, dark circles. Okay, not acne. Blemishes, probably. Yeah. And it's like, you know, when pictures of Pokemon came out where she's not wearing makeup, and everyone's like, oh, she's so ugly! And it's like, no, she's not. She is the same fucking face. Like, it's insane. It's like you put a fucking... It's like in the cartoons when you put glasses on with, like, a nose and a mustache, and then nobody knows who the character is. It's like if you're a woman and you put makeup and false eyelashes on, nobody knows what you fucking look like. You're just like, you're a completely different person now. Apparently your bone structure completely changed. Like, she's still the same fucking person. Where the fuck am I? There's no light up here? Anyway. Pokemon 26. That's true. No, but, like, I remember, like, she posted a picture of her without makeup and, like, people were so mean about it. And it did not look bad at all. Imagine thinking Pokemon is ugly. Oh my god, I forgot. Yeah, no, you're right. I have ugly as a block term. Enter the Evergold, dumbass! Oh shit! You're fucking right! Oh, this area sucks! The shop closes in 40 minutes and I wanna go. Yeah, no, like, do you remember when they were saying the Margot Robbie is mid? Come on. If you saw a woman who looks like Margot Robbie in real life, everybody would turn around and look. Like, God's sake. You hate Pokemon no matter her appearance. Yeah, same here. But she's not ugly. If you're gonna criticize her in any way, don't call her ugly. But she's not ugly. I think most of the top streamers are completely fake people. And I don't like any of them, really. You ate funny. What the fuck? Also very fucking nice. That's the Pokemon. Oh, is it? Okay. I got offended. I got offended. I was gonna say, fuck you, if I was a jester in the Middle Ages, everyone would be laughing at me. And it's true, I would have been. Where is the Evergold? I'm actually gonna lose my mind. I fucking hate this place. It's like a labyrinth. This is the worst place in the game. I'm lost! I'm actually lost. Damn, I should find the lights. Yeah, if you say that one more time, I'm gonna start talking like a VTuber. I won't stop. If you were a jester in the Middle Ages, you'd been already decapitated by now. No, because some of them were able to completely be sacrilegious to the king and still get away with it because of how funny and whimsical they were, and I feel like that would be me. And also, I am weirdly flexible. So I would probably be able to, like, train gymnastics and become a good jester. Because, you know, they did juggling and stuff and, like, balancing on a ball. Or just random, like, whimsical shit like that. I should look more into jesters. I was reading about them a while ago and I was like, I want to know more. Like, I was just like, I looked up Trebulet because of Balatro. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if that was a real guy. And then I just started looking into it and I was like, this is fucking amazing. You would have been decapitated not because you've been saying bad stuff about the king, but because of how unfunny you are. I'll ban you. I'll actually ban you for that. Shout out to Roland the Fart. You already a clown. Exactly. Okay, I'll try to do a squeaky noise. Let me do it. You know, the clown horn. Creaky door. No, I'm too high pitched to be able to do it. There's a lot of voices I'm not able to do because of that. I'm actually fucking lost. I'm going back to the Grace. I'm going back to the fucking Grace. I hate open world games. I fucking hate them. I'm not stupid. How the fuck did I not get diagnosed with dyspraxia? This is insane. People don't believe me when I say that I cannot use Google Maps because it makes no sense to me and I will still get lost. I am telling you right now, I literally can't. I really can't. You can't do any high-pitched sound. That's the downside of being a guy. No, there's some guys who can have... There's some guys with insane vocal range. Just I can't go very deep at all is my issue. Like, about this is the deepest that I can go, really. And it's cringe because it sounds like one of those VTubers who definitely has like a falsetto going all the time. And it is due to like wrong vocal cord usage. But I think I may have something, like there may be a mechanical problem with my voice box, actually. Remembering street names is way worse. Yeah, when you're in England, there's literally streets called, like, Herkage Street. And, like, Tranniesdale. Like, the street names are fucking horrible here. Like, they don't make any sense. It's horrible. Absolutely awful. I can go low, but I can't go high. Yeah, that's the thing for most guys, I think. My fucking chair is actually broken. I should just pull the fucking... I should just pull the arm off, I think. It's like wobbly. Good luck. What do you mean, good luck? There's Lenin Street of every city. Yeah, the road that I live on apparently has like fucking 90 of them in the whole of England. And an Uber driver had to like, he was like, are you sure you want to go all the way to London? It's gonna cost a lot. And I was like, what? Because I didn't fucking read when I put the name in. I put it in wrong. I booked it in advance while I was in London. Yeah, there's like Westgate Road in like every city, every town in like the whole of the UK. Like Westgate, Southgate, Northgate. Probably because there used to be gates at some point, you know. Fucking hate maps. I actually just hate maps. Like I don't like them. Go right. Okay. You said go right! Shut up! Yeah, I know. I have to climb. I know what I have to do. I have to climb up here, and then I have to. Gates are the entrances in there. Oh yeah, because everyone lived in Attack on Titan. Oh my god! Wrong, right. Shut up! This is ableist. This is ableist. I'm so fucking want to play the game anymore! On the other side, there is another fuckling ladder. We could have fucking said that. Instead of just go right. I don't know what right is. I don't know where the fuck that is. Shut up. A salamander, I promise you, the pumpkin is 10 times worse when it comes to being directed. I have at least a 5-second... Oh wait, hang on. Let me chat in OBS. Apparently it would stop the delay. Okay. That's why I don't like play Souls-like games. I could believe it. No, she really. But Pumpkin is so much better than me at the game. She is so like she's actually so good compared to me. Like I think she beat Margot in like less than 20 tries, and she beat Leonid in like fucking 7 tries. You know, misbegotten Leonid, and she fucking. Like, and she just beat the Erdtree Avatar at, like, level 20, and I didn't beat that until I was, like, 60. No, she's actually really good. Like, she cannot, if she starts using a sword, though, she just becomes dreadful. She's playing Sorcerer. She's very good at, like, keeping her distance and playing, like, carefully. Like, honestly, I think if one of us knew how to use a map, maybe because you have perma ADHD and attack. Shut the fuck up. Look, she thinks she's normal, but then she tells me things like, I have never done a dance in my life ever. And then that she leaves the house when her mom vacuums because she doesn't like the sound. So yeah, she's totally normal, huh? Yeah. She's... she's weird. Though she's so much better than me, it's actually just sad. It's just really sad. She's like, she has really bad reaction times, and she's so much better. That's normal to leave the house? How? I don't think it is. I don't like vacuum sound either, but. I don't think so. Mid gets. What is that? Right on the fucking right. Okay. Right is the hand that I'm using my mouse with. So it's here. Maybe she just has big ears. Well, she is a cat, so... I mean, that's an overkill, but yeah, why not? Well, to be fair, she does live in a... Do not put that! Delete that! For fuck's sake! Stand still for a second. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Go on then. I don't know why I'm being sassy about it. Go on, tell me where to go! Now go left jump. Are we doing the cha-cha slide? Right foot, left stomp. Bam! Left foot, right stomp. Bam, bam. Slide to the left. Bam! Slide to the right. Bam! Where do you want me to go? I don't know what you want! I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, on my left. No ladder! Wow! I was right. As fucking usual. Because I'm always right. Crisscross! Hands on your knees! Hands on your knees! Jump on the left going down the stairs. My left or your left? I'm sorry. I'm actually confused. What do you want from me? There's no fucking ladder. Look, there is no ladder. There just isn't. There actually just is not. There is not a ladder. There is not a ladder. I can't see one. Wait, hang on. Okay, I'm gonna look. I'm moving my head on the fucking screen. Yeah, there's a ladder up there. Yeah, I see that. It's 4:36 a.m. for me, so gotta go. Good night, Gob14. Thank you for the gift subs. Now everybody got friends. Like Sisyphus, she is bound to hell. Not this one. I don't see another though. Wait, do I maybe have to... Oh! Oh! That was... Oh yeah, that is left. It's my left, not your left. Because you're inside the computer, so your left would be right. Turn 360 and look. If I turn 360, that's sick. Found it. Thank you. Okay, shut up! Okay, so there's one more. It really does look like my sister. Did I light it? Okay, so let me have a look. So there's... should be another somewhere, right? Can have a look. It's just that the 12 feet tall one of those things is correct. Okay, which? You see the other one on the other tower. Was that the one I tried to do before and I couldn't because I didn't fucking change it tonight? Holy shit, she's huge. No, she just isn't. Yeah, okay. I'll do that, and then I will go to the grocery store 5 minutes before it closes and piss everybody who works there off, because I love doing that. Oh! No! No! Jump! Run! 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 What did I do? What was that? She fucking... Her fucking arms were flailing around. You look like an idiot. Why did she do that? Stop. I made you... I'm gonna fucking... Like sometimes games, sometimes I get so stressed, I just start. I just get hysterical. Right now, I feel hysterical from the previous. Yeah, I know I went there before. Oh, previous letters cross to go to the other side. The archer on the backbone aggro. I killed them though. Like I killed those guys before. I actually have to go to the store now. It closes in 20 minutes. I'll be back in like 10. I'll be right back. Yeah, that's really funny, except Ritz doesn't fart because he's a femboy, so... He's literally never farted once. By the way, I can count on one hand the amount of times he's farted in my presence. Burping, however, I wish he wouldn't. Too often. W Ritz. Shut up. I fucking hate coming home and the heating's on and you're just freezing outside and you get back in and then the fucking temperature changes and it's just horrible. Sounds like you're saying, you wish I could fart. Why are you on your phone while you're on the toilet? Oh, okay. I do not know. Every time you do fart, it smells way worse than my farts, which means I win, as usual. Sad gesture. This cheesecake is weird. Yeah, I really need to get those runes back. It does have a peculiar texture. It has to have egg. It has to be egg. 100% has to be egg. Stop trying to be as British as you possibly fucking can. Like, no one says it's quite Moorish, and no one knows what that means anyway. At least, I don't. Yeah, it does have eggs. Yeah, well, I mean, I can taste the eggs. What is that fucking emote? That girl's getting cum on her head. What is that? Eggwa? It come with eggwa. Means you want to eat more of it. Well, no, because, like, I kind of don't. Like, I just had, like, one bite. And, like, I feel like I just ate a whole fucking water balloon of cream. No! Oh my god. What did I even say my G Fuel flavor would be? Pickle particles. I think that's what I said. Fucking stupid thing to say. I would eat pickle particles, or like, why is pickle powder not a thing? Like, just, you know, just like freeze-dried pickles, blended, make it into a powder, like a seasoning powder. The McPickle pounder. Yeah, the McPickle pounder. Shit was laced. Oh yeah. I remember now. Don't watch the clip. No! Okay, a piece of cheesecake went somewhere. Where did it go? No! Oh, I found it. No, I didn't. Fuck that, whatever. I'll clean it later. The freckle is in my pickle. No, I like pickle chips. I like pickles. Ouch. Okay. I will demonstrate, yet again, why this part of the game is impossible. Fatty went to— No! We had cheesecake! You fucking bitch! We had cheesecake in the fucking fridge! And I came home and Ritz was eating a fucking cheesecake. So I stared longingly at the cheesecake. And then I got my half of the cheesecake out of the fridge. And I'm eating that now. I went to the store for beer. Yeah, he bought the cheesecake. Bro. How is that worse? I haven't drank it. Real, yeah. Correct his grammar. And no, I don't need to keep those thunder thighs. Yeah, if I made G Fuel, it would be pickle particles with MDMA, and I would have that fucking tortoise on the front. He would be there. That's my G Fuel flavor. I'll make it. I'll make it in Photoshop tonight. It's actually gonna be the most fucking appetizing G Fuel flavor. Oh my god! I'm sorry. Full G Fuel. Look, yeah, I do leg day like once a year. I actually just have fat legs. Oops, don't tell anyone. Whoops. I can leg press Ritz though. What? No. It's hard. It's hard. Like every month I go into agony because, you know, endometriosis, so my periods are so painful. So it's really hard to keep a gym schedule when your life is just falling apart every 2 weeks. Copium. Like, why are you actually copium? I'll fucking go in there and do it right now. I can pick you up, you fucking liar! Fucking 60 kilograms, fucking twink. Loser. You're making me act like I have an ego. Wait, no you're not. I'm just acting like I have one. You bench press? What? No, leg press. Like, I like lift him up while I can put his torso on my feet, and then I can like lift him up. Like that thing that people do with babies sometimes. He's like 140 pounds. It's easy. Except he's too long. Like he's too long, it's hard to balance. Anyway, vertical leg press is easy because you can use like your whole body for it. Horizontal leg press is difficult. I know, because on the vertical I could do like, I was doing like up to 230 at one point. And the highest I could do on horizontal was like 80. And it would like hurt. So maybe I think it's because my legs are short. That's my quote. If this guy fucking kills me, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Promised 5,000 years ago. Your English skill is actually... It's actually inspiring. 5,000 years ago. No, I don't think I could bench press 10 kilograms, actually. Because, wait, how many pounds is 5 kilograms? Like 10. Okay, so if I do 10 pounds of shoulder presses, I'll get tired after like 4. Still be legs confirmed. Well, what do you fucking expect? Like, I've already height revealed before, and it wasn't 6'5", even though that one guy believed me. Bro is shook. Okay, how the fuck do I... Okay, I got it. It's called strafing, bitch. Shut the fuck up. Fucking rooftop Koreans! Oh! So, I was in a hurry, okay, clipping hard, okay. Why are you clipping while hard? Weird champ. Don't fucking act like that's not how you usually spell. We all know it is. And we also know you do it on purpose. I don't think I have stubby lips, but they are short. Just because I'm short, you know? Look, I'm not really that short. It's like on the lower end of normal, I suppose. Like, for a woman, it's really not that short at all. Stop the cheesecake, Esma! I was drinking my fucking mojito martini! What is this? Passion fruit martini flavor cocktail. An expertly fused, ready-to-drink cocktail. That's what I'm drinking. What does this sound? What does this sound like? Passion fruit flavored what? What the fuck? Oh wait, the fucking pink names being fruity and saying so shit always. Sounds. Oh yeah, let me give me, I'm not gonna say that. Oh yeah, intimate times, oh yeah. You must be a fucking virgin because it doesn't fucking sound like that. If you're in the bedroom and someone starts fucking making nose noises, they're trolling you and they're filming the whole thing. Or they might just be insanely autistic. There's only, like, I mean, they're probably autistic in both of those scenarios. That person would be autistic. I kind of hope that, like, prank channels have a comeback and they just go further than has ever been done before. It just goes so far that it's like, it's just not okay. It's like worse than that guy who pretended that he got kidnapped by the fucking terrorists. The seal up the stairs is open. Oh, okay, thanks for telling me. You did it. Oh wow, oh no. I probably have to fight Melania now. I better go fucking level up first, actually. Oh, sorry. Shut up. So my friend was streaming and somebody joined her stream and they said, I found you in a VTuber fart compilation. And she was like, let's fucking go. Obviously it was like, you know, it was a lie. But like if someone joined and said that they found me in a fart compilation, I'd probably actually have a panic attack. Like genuinely, I would, that would not be, it would not be good. I've already been put in a sneezing compilation. I don't want to be put in a fucking fart compilation. What do you mean I don't have enough? Eat it. Eat. Link it. Look. Go to my TikTok, which is linked below and in my bio, and look at my most viewed video. It's me sneezing. And the reason why it's the most viewed is, oh my fucking god, is not because it's a funny Hitman clip. It's because I'm sneezing. It has so many views. It's insane. It has more views than anything I've ever put on YouTube or anything like that. And I only have 38 like followers on TikTok. It's crazy. Like I genuinely just got put in someone's sneeze wank bank. And they don't even follow me afterwards. Like I had people commenting on that video for weeks saying like, bless you for every beautiful sneeze that you did and I hope they were real. Like bro, what the fuck? How are you jacking off to people sneezing? You want me to sneeze on your dick? It doesn't make any sense to me. I will actually never understand it. Like, I think farting makes more sense than sneezing, like for a fetish, because at least, like, you know, people like asses, right? Farts come out of asses. People don't fuck noses. Sneezes come out of noses. That's just my logic. I don't understand the sneeze fetishes. It makes no sense to me. Look, you're saying, huh, I'm using my brain. You're not. You're getting upset. Like, you're just getting brain mugged right now, and that's why you're confused. You're discriminating against nose fuckers right now. Good! They should fucking die! If you are gonna jack off to me sneezing, apparently, also, people were finding that video from typing in male boy sneezing fit, because I can see how people find my page and find my videos on TikTok. So people were looking for underage boys sneezing, and they don't even follow me, probably when they find out that I'm a fucking woman, because they're fucking weirdos. Actually fucking insane. So, like, the way people would find me on TikTok for ages would be male sneeze. Oh no, Nicola. Mushrooms! Yeah, people would just find me from fucking sneezing. It was actually insane. And I still, like, I literally got a like, and, like, people were watching that video the other day. I don't even know how many views it has now. Prepare to fucking fall off. I'm not gonna fall off. And even if I do, it doesn't matter because I have, no runes anymore. I'm sorry, snowman. Let me see if I can match this note. I can't. Oh shit. I'm gonna fucking throw up. I'm gonna throw up. Throw up. I looked away. What happened? No, don't. Do not. Please don't. It's actually embarrassing. Why can't I hit a note that high? It's a flute. I don't care. It's a flute. You shut up. That didn't stop Mariah Carey, did it? So fucking embarrassing. Oh, let me see if I can hit that note. Misses it completely, and I fell off the map. Oh my god. I'm actually in tears. That was so bad. Oh my god, there's ants! Oh, they're so beautiful. Is there not a camera mode? Oh shit. Also, I think it might be a trumpet. I can't believe that was so embarrassing. I'm still embarrassed. That was so bad. Oh, I wonder if I can hit this note. Oh no. No!